6:32 p.m. right now. It's what is May? It's March
23rd, 2019.
Okay, so we're 4 weeks away from knowing who the next mayor of Tampa is going to be. It's been a hotly contested race, very exciting. We've been following it since last year, and so now it's just between David Straz and Jane Castor. And so the latest headlines on the race is commercial that David Straz put out accusing Jane Castor of double dipping. There's a commercial with her taking 2 ice cream scoops on a cone, and so we're just gonna analyze real quickly. Gonna take maybe 10 minutes to analyze this. 2 major publications out here in the Tampa Bay area, Tampa Bay Times and Florida Politics. I like Florida Politics from the coverage they've been doing thus far. I think it's a little bit more balanced. I don't feel the same way about Tampa Bay Times. What do you think, Beastie?
I think that the Tampa Bay Times is very biased, and they almost look like a local trash magazine at times based on their
that's
coverage.
Harsh. That's a little harsh. Charlie Fraggle has been covering it, and so let's go ahead and take a look at his headline. Straz says he won't take $160,000 of mayoral salary if he's elected. Castor says, I wouldn't either if I drove a Bentley. That's the headline. So that's a good thing, though, you would think. And listen, let's just analyze and argue both sides of the issue. That's a good thing. Would you think that somebody saying I'm not going to take any taxpayer money, that's a good thing, isn't it?
That is a very good thing.
So $160 a year for 4 years, which is what the term is. There's 2 terms that you can run for as mayor in Tampa, and so they would save $640,000 for that first term if Straz won, in comparison to Jane. Jane says she's not gonna give up her salary if she wins because she doesn't drive a Bentley. And in response to him, these attacks, as she portrays them to be, I don't think they're attacks. I don't think there's anything smear-ish about it. There's people on both sides of the issue. Some people think that it is double dipping. And what is double dipping? She's getting taxpayer funded pension, which she earned, and there have been the presidents for both the Police Benevolent Association and the Tampa Firefighters Union have come out and defended her, rightfully so. Let's be intellectually honest. She did earn that after working for 31 years. No one's saying that, but it's a pension that she earned, and which I believe most people think that once you retire, retirement literally means you cease to work, and that's what is designed for someone to be able to then live off for the rest of their retirement years, right? But some people characterize double dipping as saying you're retiring, meaning I'm not working anymore, but then working. Even persons that I've spoken to that are of the opinion, look, she earned it. I don't care if she takes now a mayoral salary. I don't care. Did take issue after she retired in 2015, and thereafter immediately, without any interruption or gap, worked another year at the request of current mayor Bob Buckhorn. They consider that to be offensive to the taxpayer. What are your thoughts, Michelle, on this?
In this situation, the city of Tampa paid her salary when she was a police officer and later on when she became the chief of police. And if she wins the election, the city of Tampa will again be paying her salary. I think if she ends up winning the election and becoming the mayor, her retirement, her pension, should be suspended pending the time that she's working as the mayor.
And some people are going to take, I'm sure these 2 individuals that came out in the Florida Politics coverage with Janelle Irwin are going to take issue with that. They're going to say, no, why? The idea is, why should she? She's not doing the same job. She's doing a different job. Does that make any difference? Because the persons that are footing the bill are the taxpayers. Does it make a difference that, well, she's not double dipping because she's not going to work as a chief of police or a police officer? She's doing providing another service to the taxpayer as a mayor.
She's a city of Tampa employee.
Okay.
That's what it boils down to. Whether you work for Parks and Rec, or you work for the mayor's office, or you're the chief of police, you are at the end of the day a city of Tampa employee. I do agree she is entitled to her pension. She worked very long and very hard for that, and she is deserving of that pension. I do not agree with her receiving the pension and also receiving a paycheck from the city as the mayor. Suspend the pension once she retires or quits being the mayor. reinstate her pension.
Okay, but it's perfectly legal. They can do that. That's not anything that's unlawful in this state. Maybe citizens who care about this issue and who think that that is double dipping and shouldn't be allowed, that once somebody drops, as they call it, with as a government employee and then starts receiving a pension, if they're going to continue to work, which is counter to saying that you're retiring, then you shouldn't be getting the pension. The pension should just be received upon real retirement, not if you're going to continue to work. If you're going to continue to work, then you should just live off that salary, right? Is
Correct.
that so? Some people have that. So then maybe laws need to be changed. I know I read something out of New York where retired judges who retire and start receiving a pension and want to continue to serve on the bench, they're not allowing them to collect a salary and their pension. So maybe legislation needs to be passed for persons that even care about this issue, because you know what? There's a lot of people that are defending her. Let's be honest. It appears that most of the people are kind of offended at the at this ad. And some people are not. Some people believe that it is double dipping, but some people seem to be very fiercely defending her. So anyways, that's for the voters to decide. They make their decision in the city of Tampa as to whether that's something that they're going to hold against her, or they don't even care. But for her to counter and say, you know what, I'm not going to give up my salary, that's a benefit. If they're comparing both candidates, that is a plus from Straz to not take a salary. That's my opinion. Florida, you judge, you decide what you make of that. But I think for a candidate to say, I'm not going to take any taxpayer money, that's a plus. She's saying she's going to take it because she doesn't own a Bentley. But if she combines what she currently gets in her pension, $113,000 or $115,000, combined with what she would make as the mayor of Tampa, which is $160,000, which last year Creative Loafing said that represents 3 times. $160,000 represents what the average income of the households in Tampa make. That represents 3 times that. So those two combined incomes would represent $270,000 a year that she would be pulling in. Is somebody that is in that tax bracket is earning that much, do you think that person would be more in touch with the working man and woman than Straz?
No, I think that she is out of touch with the working class.
Okay. So another thing that I want the viewer to be mindful of and informed about is that after she retired, she took a contract job as a consulting expert in Miami. And we're going to have a different segment detailing and discussing that, because it's a little convoluted and it's a little long. But
and Haiti, really quick, what I would be curious to know, if she has released those records, what her consulting firm earned.
Okay, sure.
I'd be curious to see what she earned when she was in the private sector. Was she able to make it?
I don't know. But I do know this, that Miami police, after entering into an agreement with the federal government, the DOJ, after 7 black men were killed in a period of 8 months, they hired her as the monitor of that agreement in 2016. There's a contract that she signed for the start date of April 7th, 2016. It had notarized April 28th of 2016. 7 or 9 months into that year of 2016, 7 to 9 months later, when she was supposed to be working and producing 2 reports, she wasn't. The Miami Herald busted her. There's a headline that came out. She's behind schedule. She wasn't doing her job. And when she got caught and that came up, that issue was raised, she said, oh, no, I wasn't officially under contract until December. Okay, and so we have a contract now. Her contract, which she signed, had notarized in April 28th. There's a line then there that's drawn through April, and somebody wrote December right above it. I called her, spoke to her over the phone. She said that she didn't know who did that. She said, I didn't do it. Who did? Because that gives her an excuse. That's the excuse she used when she got caught not doing her job. I wasn't officially under contract until December, even though my contract says April of 2016. So I said, who drew the line? I don't know.
And that's the contract that she signed, and the notary watched her sign the document.
I hope so. That's what the notary's supposed to do.
And that happened a year after the DOJ came in and investigated Tampa and TPD's policies for biking while black.
We're going to separately discuss that in another segment. There's not enough time in this one, but I'll tell you what, that's a separate issue. And yes, it's very baffling that after, in 2015, the Department of Justice said she was burning black people in Tampa without a benefit, that Miami, who some of the people that I spoke down to when I saw her addressing the advisory the Citizen Advisory Board, they were totally like at a loss to understand why she got selected. They had no idea that had been going on in Tampa under her leadership. But yes, that is something that is also something the voter needs to be aware about. Read about it, disastercaster.com. That is a website that I administer, that I'm going to be supplementing. If she does win, we're going to still become her monitors to see how she's doing with all the issues that are cropping up, especially yesterday. We're going to talk about that in the next 10 minutes when we do our new segment, Just Us, but kind of let's go ahead and just go into that. But before we do, one last thing. Charlie Fraggle, I think, to me, it sounds like he's carrying water for Jane. Do you agree with that? Disagree with me on that?
It appears to me that the Tampa Bay Times is very, very biased, and they are very, very for Castor, very against anyone else. And it appears to me that they are not an unbiased, independent, journalistic.
That's your opinion, your impression. But so correct. I find it hilarious because, you know what, Florida politics, Peter Scorch, I hope I'm saying his last name correctly, Janelle Irwin, they seem to be a more balanced publication. They spank both of them, honestly. They praise both, they spank both.
And that's what needs to be done. That's
what needs to be done. They're, I think, are more so fair and balanced than Tampa Bay Times. Charlie at times has maybe a little bit spanked her, but not to the extent that he spanks Straz. So in his article, he does point out, and I failed to see the relevancy of it, but he didn't miss a moment, an opportunity to, in the article, talking about the recent ad accusing Jane of possibly double dipping if she wins. He says in his article, the Straz campaign may not have intended to remind voters about another politician who doesn't accept the salary that comes with the office, President Donald Trump. Straz voted for Trump, then repeatedly apologized for casting that ballot. He said he doesn't agree with the president's values. Well, okay, so he has already said that he has disavowed, disowned, been apologetic for the vote that he cast. And so interestingly, I find that he says that Straz may not have intended to remind voters about having voted for Donald Trump. I find it to be irrelevant. I think it's a little bit of a dig. It's a little bit of throwing that out there to kind of maybe get persons, particularly the majority of voters in Tampa, which are Democrats, against Straz. But what Charlie Fraggle in his covering of this issue failed to mention to his readers that Jane Castor, his paramour, Anna Cruz, who's very known in the Tampa Bay area, particularly Tampa, she works for Ballard Partners, and they are a very huge pro-Trump lobbying firm. In fact, and maybe Charlie Fraggle in his article didn't intend to then have us bloggers read about his covering, and maybe he didn't intend for us to then remind the voters, the public, that Ballard Partners said they actually helped win Florida for Trump. And Brian Ballard, the owner, the founder of that lobbying firm, which Anna Cruz, Jane Castor's paramour, works in and heads the office out of Tampa. This is what he said. He said that for 2018 and 2020, Ballard says Florida will be the most important state in the nation. It has to be. And he said that you have to embrace, he said this message to the Republicans for 2018. In 2018, last year, you have to embrace the Trump presidency. So he's pro-Trump, and Charlie Fraggle didn't mention in his article that it's hypocritical to say, oh, Straz supported Trump. Well, you know what? Jane's girlfriend works for a pro-Trump lobbying firm. So there you have it. Any last thoughts, words, comments, weigh-ins, Beastie?
No, we covered it all, I feel.
Okay, well, there you go. And so, till next time, Heidi Oropesa and
Michelle Lambo. And when I dip, you dip, and we all dip.
What are you doing? What? Did you just double dip that chip?
Excuse me?
You double dipped the chip.
Double dipped? What are you talking about?
You dipped the chip, you took a bite, and you dipped again.
So?
That's like putting your whole mouth right in the dip. Look, from now on, when you take a chip, just take one dip and end it.
Well, I'm sorry, Timmy. But I don't dip that way.
Oh, you don't, huh?
No. You dip the way you want to dip. I'll dip the way I want to dip.
Give me the chip!
Hey!